Yes, today we are going to discuss about the ear anatomy part 4, in which I am going to cover detailed structure of middle ear. Myself, Dr. Muralidhar Badigere, Department of Sharirachana, Grameen Ayurvedic Medical College, Terdal. Introduction. So the middle ear is also known as tympanum or the tympanic cavity. It is a narrow slit-like ear-filled cavity. It is looking like a box. You can see this is a middle ear. Here is the box like structure. Box means don't imagine a big box, a small box you should imagine. So it is in millimeter it is measuring. So it is cavity is lined by the mucous membrane, and the size of the adult middle ear is equal to the size of the newborn middle ear. There is no difference between the adult middle ear size and the newborn middle ear size. So this middle ear is sandwiched between the external ear and the internal ear. It intensifies the force of sound vibrations, means it strengthens the sound waves from the external acoustic meatus to the internal ear, and it conveys the vibration from the tympanic membrane to the internal ear. Next, location where it is located. The ear is located in the petrous part of the temporal bone, or it lies between the external and the internal ear. Then what is this petrous part of the temporal bone? Almost all the students know this is a skull. In the skull lateral aspect there will be a temporal bone. So this green color part is the temporal bone. In the green color part, I think you are seeing the opening here. So this is the external acoustic opening. So this external acoustic opening, and above, posterior, below, these are the parts of the temporal bone. See, if you consider this is the temporal bone, this is the ear opening. These are the external features. Around the ear opening, external acoustic meatus, there is a green color part. This is called tympanic part number 1. And posterior to the external acoustic meatus, there is another part. It's very hard part. Posterior to the ear, you can palpate yourself. So this is called by the name of mastoid part. And superiorly there is another part, this is called squamous part, and inferiorly there is a projections, a yellow color projection is there, that is called by the name of styloid process. Similarly, in the internal surface there will be another triangular projection will be there. So that is I am showing in this picture. See, this is the area where a triangular projection is present. So this part is called by the name of petrous part of the temporal bone. So inside this petrous part of the temporal bone, our middle ear is situated. So it means if you broken this part, you are entering into the middle ear, and also internal ear is also situated in this area. So try to remember the middle ear is situated in the petrous part of the temporal bone. And shape and measurements, come to the point, shape and the measurements. So the middle ear, see, this is the middle ear, is a tympanic membrane, it's the internal ear. Between this there is a area, this area is the middle ear. So the middle ear shape is the biconcave disc like box. Biconcave, because upper transverse diameter is more, lower is more, but middle is less. Because of that reason middle it is constricted. So it is a biconcave disc like box, and its vertical diameter. So this is a vertical diameter. So you can see this is a vertical diameter. The vertical diameter is 15 millimeter, and anterior posterior diameter is about 15 mm. Means vertical and anterior posterior diameters are same. But transverse diameter in the upper part, see, the transverse diameter in the upper part is 6 millimeter. In the lower part it is 4 millimeter. In the middle only 2 millimeter. So because of that reason middle part is constricted. This box is, middle part is constricted, upper part and lower part are a little bit wider. Next, so this tympanic cavity, or this one middle ear, is divided into 3 parts: epitympanum, mesotympanum and hypotympanum. So this is the divisions of the, this middle ear is divided on the basis of the structure tympanic membrane. So above the tympanic membrane, whatever the area is there, that is called epitympanum, and lower border of this tympanic membrane, below the tympanic membrane, whatever the area is there, this is called hypotympanum, and in front of the tympanic cavity, whatever the area is there, that is called by the name of mesotympanum. So according to B.D. Chaurasia, this classification is little bit differ. So he is divided middle ear into only 2 parts. Above the tympanic membrane, whatever the area is there, this is called epitympanic recess, and remaining part is called by the name of tympanic cavity. And next, it is a cavity, it is a box like, means we should discuss boundaries of this middle ear and content of the middle ear. First we are going to discuss about the boundaries of the middle ear. See the boundaries of the middle ear. This is the, you can see This is the cavity. This is the superior wall. This is inferior wall. This is the lateral wall. This is the medial wall. And what you are observing pink color, there is a posterior wall, and anterior wall is removed here by the cut section. So it means it consists the superior wall, inferior wall, anterior wall, posterior wall, medial wall, and the lateral wall. I want to clarify this picture. See, this is a box like structure, just a lateral wall is opened. So lateral wall is opened here, then automatically this is a lateral wall, means opposite to this is the medial wall. And so then this is a roof, and this is a floor, and this is the anterior wall, this is the posterior wall. And one thing you should remember, roof is directed towards the brain, and this floor is directed towards the neck region, and anterior wall is directed towards the pharynx or nasopharynx, and posterior wall is directed towards the mastoid part, and lateral wall is directed towards the tympanic membrane, and medial wall is directed towards the internal ear. So this is the basic data we should know. See, in this picture you can see the picture. See, this is the middle ear. The middle ear superior part is connecting to the brain, and inferior part is neck, but in the neck there is arteries and veins are there. So this inferior part is related to this artery and the vein. Anteriorly, this is the anterior wall is connecting to the nasopharynx, and posterior part is connecting to the mastoid antrum, and laterally it is related to this part, what is this, tympanic membrane, and medially it is related to the labyrinth or the internal ear. Next we are going to discuss one by one. First one is the roof. The roof is also known as tegmentin wall. Why it is called tegmentin wall? So because the roof is made up of thin plate of the bone, which is made up of the thin plate of the bone. This thin plate of the bone is known as tegmentin tympani. So this tegmentin tympani is the part of the petrous part of temporal bone, which separates the middle cranial fossa from the middle ear. So this is the middle ear. The upper part is the middle cranial fossa. So middle cranial fossa and middle ear, between these two structures there is a thin plate of the bone is present. So this thin plate of the bone is called tegmentin tympani. Because of that reason, this roof is also known as tegmentin wall. Here you can see the two pictures I shown. This is the roof. Roof is connecting to the upper part. This is the brain. So two things I shown. I removed the roof here. There is no roof, imagine. Directly this middle ear is communicating to the brain. If the roof is covered but there is a small hole is there, through that hole also it is communicating with the cranial part or cranial fossa or the brain. So next slide I want to clarify this picture. See, this is the middle ear, this is the roof. The roof is two types. One is in the adult, another one is the young children's. So in the adult and the young children's, what is the major difference between the roof in the young children's? In the young children's, it is not ossified. It is not ossified means there is no plate here. There is no plate here means there will be a gap. So through this gap, middle ear is easily communicating with the middle cranial fossa. So because of that reason, if there is any infection in the middle ear, in the children's, easily or quickly spread to the middle cranial fossa. Through that it can affect the meninges or the brain. In the adult, this bony plate is ossified. Maybe you are thinking, oh, it is ossified means in the adult infection is not going to spread. No, in the adult it is ossified, but there is one small suture is present. Through this suture, vein is transmitting from middle ear to the intracranial. So if there is any middle ear infections, they can spread from the vein to the intracranium. So this is also chance in the adult. But comparatively adult and the children, in the children there is a direct gap. Because of that reason, infections are easily spread to the intracranium. But in adult, this vein is not present in all the individuals. Because of that reason, it may be transmitting. If it is present, if there is no vein, then there is no question of the transmission of the infection. Next we are going to discuss about the floor. This is also thin plate of the bone. This is the thin plate of the bone which separates the middle ear from the jugular vein. In the neck region, there is a jugular vein that's called internal jugular vein. The internal jugular vein ascending upwards and take the turn and dilate here, that is called jugular bulb. So this jugular bulb is separated from the mid layer by the thin plate of the bone. So that is called by the name of floor. So that is why this floor is also known as jugular wall. This floor is also known as jugular wall because it separates the jugular vein from the middle ear. And one more thing, in this floor, the one small hole is there. Through that hole, one nerve is passing. So that nerve is tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve is passing here. So this is about the floor. Next we are going to discuss about the anterior wall. So this here red color artery is present here. So this anterior wall, this is the anterior wall. So the red color artery is related this part, anterior wall. Because of that reason, so this artery is known as carotid artery. Because of that reason, this anterior wall, the anterior wall is also known as carotid wall because it is related to the carotid artery. In the upper part, there is a two openings are there. Superior part of this anterior wall, there is a one canal is there, through which canal the tensor tympani muscle is passing. So that is called canal for the tensor tympani is present. And after that, there is another hole is present. This hole is communicating with the nasopharynx or pharynx from the mid layer, or the mid layer is connecting anteriorly through this tube to the nasopharynx. So this tube is called auditory tube or Eustachian tube. It means the anterior wall or mid layer is communicating anteriorly nasopharynx through the Eustachian tube. And so this is the importance of this anterior canal or the anterior wall. What is the importance? If there is any throat infections are there, that throat infections are easily spread from the throat to the mid layer through the Eustachian tube. Next we are going to discuss about the posterior wall. See in this picture, posterior wall is here. This one is a posterior wall represented here. This is a posterior wall. So the posterior wall is related to the mastoid part. The inside the mastoid bone there is a ear cells are present. They are called by the name of mastoid antrum. So the posterior wall is related to the mastoid process of the temporal bone. Because of that reason, it is also known as mastoid wall. And in this wall, the middle, there is a one opening in the upper part. Through this opening, the mid layer is connecting to the mastoid antrum. Middle ear posteriorly connecting to the mastoid antrum through a canal. So that canal is called by the name of auditus. And after that, there is a one depression in this area that is called by the name of fossa incudus. What is this fossa incudus? This is the incus. Just lateral wall is opened. Imagine it is closed. Then incus is lodging here. Then that depression is called fossa incudus. And in the posterior wall, in the inferior part especially, there is one nerve is ascending upwards in the bony part. In the bony part only it is ascending upwards. Then there is a canal is found in the posterior wall for that nerve. So that canal is called bony canal for the facial nerve. And after that there is one pyramidal structure is present. So that pyramidal structure or pyramidal eminence is for the attachment of the stapedius muscle. So that is called pyramidal eminence for the stapedius muscle. The posterior wall is communicating with the mastoid antrum through the auditus, and it consists of the canal, bony canal for the facial nerve, and there will be a presence of the pyramidal eminence for the attachment of the muscle. So that muscle is known as a stapedius. And apart from that, the incus, the short process of the incus is lodging in the posterior wall. So that depression is called fossa incudus. And next we are going to discuss about the lateral wall. Lateral wall is very easy because lateral wall is nothing but the tympanic membrane. So lateral wall is mainly formed by the tympanic membrane, and upper part is formed by the bony part, that is a petrous part, where the bony part and tympanic membranes are going to merge. So that merging point is called by the name of petrotympanic fissure. So once again, the lateral wall is mainly formed by the tympanic membrane, hence this wall is also known as membranous wall. This membranous wall consists of only two features. One is passage of quadra tympani nerve, another one is anterior tympanic artery. So, anterior tympanic artery is passing in the petrotympanic fissure. What is a petrotympanic fissure? It is a junction between the tympanic membrane and the petrous part of the bony part. And another one, already you know the posterior wall having the bony canal. Inside the bony canal, facial nerve is ascending upwards. After that, it leaves the posterior wall and entering into the lateral wall through an opening. So that opening is called by the name of anterior canalculus. That anterior canalculus is for the quadra tympani nerve. Quadra tympani means it is a branch from the facial nerve. Last one is medial wall. See, this is a cavity, this is a medial wall. So this medial wall is formed by the internal ear. Internal ear is also known as labyrinth. It means a labyrinth part is situated and impressions of the labyrinth are expressed in the medial wall of the middle ear. So because of that reason, so this medial wall is also known as labyrinthine wall. So these are the parts, these are the features found in the medial wall. First one is promontory. See, here the bony elevation is found in the mid layer. This is called promontory. Why this bony elevation is present? Because this is a cochlea is going to start here. These are the turns of the cochlea. So these are the turns of the cochlea. This is the basal turn of the cochlea. Where the basal turn of the cochlea is going to start. So that creates the impression here. So that is called by the name of promontory. Above this promontory, there is a one oval opening is present. Inside this oval opening, put plate of the stapes is lodging, or put plate of the stapes is fitted in this oval opening. So this oval opening is called by the name of fenestra vestibuli. Fenestra vestibuli. Fenestra means hole. Vestibuli means this is the vestibular part. So it is present, fenestra is present in the vestibuli. So it is called fenestra vestibuli. It is an oval in shape. Because of that reason, it is also known as oval window. And this plays an important role in the transmission of the waves from the tympanic membrane to the internal ear. Next, there is another opening is present at the in front of the promontory, inferior to the promontory. That opening is round in shape. So that is called round window. And round window is present inside the cochlea. Because of that reason, it is called fenestra cochlea. Round window or the fenestra cochlea. The fenestra cochlea is plugged by the membranous structure. So this membranous structure is called by the name of secondary tympanic membrane. So this is the tympanic membrane, and fenestra cochlea is plugged by the another membrane that is called by the name of that is called by the name of secondary tympanic membrane. See, this is about the posterior wall, what we are discussing, medial wall, what we are discussing here. And apart from that, we will get some of the features. So then facial canal for the prominence or facial canal prominence. What is this facial canal prominence? In the posterior wall, facial nerve is ascending upwards. And after that, it given the one branch that is going to the lateral wall through the anterior canalculus. And this facial nerve is running upwards in the posterior wall. After that, it leaves the posterior wall and entering into the medial wall. When it is entering into the medial wall, it creates the impression. So that impression is called facial canal prominence. And after that, there will be another important structure that's called process trochleiformis. What is this process trochleiformis? There is one trochlea-like structure in the medial wall. So tensor tympani muscle is coming here from the anterior wall inside, and it hooks or winds around that trochlea-like structure, so that where it hooks or winds around that is called process trochleiformis. And last one is there is a lateral semicircular canal. See, above the facial nerve canal, there is another lateral semicircular canal will be there. See in this picture. So this is the lateral semicircular canal. It's creating the impression here. So automatically that is called lateral semicircular canal. Impression is found in the medial wall. So these are the structures, or these are the detailed structure of the superior, inferior, anterior and lateral walls. Next, I have finished this outline. Then what is the content of this mid layer? The mid layer consists of 3 bones, 2 joints, 2 muscles, arteries, nerves. First, bones. three bones are present. One is the malleus, incus, and stapes. Stapes is the smallest bone in the body. And joints are two in number. One, the joint between the incus and the malleus, that's called incudiomalleolar joint. Another joint is between the incus and the stapes, that's called incudiostapedial joint. And two muscles are present here. One is the tensor tympani and another one is stapedius. Tensor tympani is related to the malleus and stapedius is related to the stapes. And arteries, mainly two arteries are found, anterior tympanic artery and posterior tympanic artery, and nerves, tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve and superior inferior carotid-tympanic nerves. These are the sympathetic nerve arising from the carotid nerve plexus. One by one we are going to discuss. First we are going to discuss about the ear ossicles. The ear ossicles are malleus, incus, stapes. First we are going to discuss about the malleus. So this malleus is looking like a hammer. It is looking like a hammer. Because of that reason it is known as malleus. So it consists of the three parts. One is the head, neck and process. See, this is the head, this is the neck, and these are the process. 1, 2, 3 process it has. First we are going to discuss about the head. Head is the rounded and smooth and articulates with the incus and forms the joint that is known as incudiomalleolar joint. Below the head there is a constricted part. This constricted part is called by the name of neck. So this neck part is related to the pars placida. I think you know tympanic membrane is divided into upper small triangular area, that's called pars placida, and lower large area it is called by the name of pars tensa. So the neck is related to the pars tensa, and this neck is crossed by the one nerve. So that is known as quadra tympani. In this you can see the neck is crossed by the nerve, that's called quadra tympani. And next is process. It consists of the two process, small two process. One is the lateral process, small one, and another one is the anterior process. Both are small, but one is a long process that's called handle of the malleus. This handle of the malleus is attached to the tympanic membrane, and the tip of the malleus is attached to the umbo of the tympanic membrane. What is the umbo? Umbo is the maximum convexity part of the tympanic membrane, which is present on the medial surface or internal surface of the tympanic membrane. Next we are going to discuss about the incus. Incus is looking like a molar teeth or tooth, molar tooth it is looking. Because of that reason it is called incus, and also it is known as anvil. This is divided into three parts. One is the body, short process, and the long process. Body, short process, long process. A body, it is a large and having the articular facet. This articulates with head of the malleus. Once again it is forming the joint that is called incudiomalleolar joint. Short process is the short one, and it is lodging or it is connecting to the fossa inquidius. This fossa inquidius is present in the posterior wall of the ear. And long process, the long process is directed downwards, posterior and parallel to the handle of the malleus, and it consists of articular facet which articulates with the head of the stapes and going to form the joint known as incudiostapedial joint. And last bone is the stapes. Stapes is the smallest bone in the body. You should remember, it may be asked in the viva, which is the smallest bone in the body. So that is called stapes. It is looking like a stirrup. This is a stirrup, means here see who are riding the horse, they are keeping the foot on that. So that part is part where the foot is kept, no? So that part is looking like this. This and this are resembling. Because of that reason it is known as stapes. Stapes is looking like a stirrup. Stirrup means this is okay. And it consists of head, neck, limbs and the base. It consists of the head. Head is the small, it is very small and articulates with the tip of the what is that long process of the incus and form the joint that is known as incudiostapedial joint. And neck is the constricted portion. See, the neck is the constricted portion below the head, that's called neck. And after the neck it has consists the two limbs. One is the anterior limb, another one is the posterior limb. This anterior limb and posterior limbs are ends in the plate that is called base. So this base is also known as foot plate, or it is also known as foot piece. It is shape of the foot plate is oval in shape, and it fits in the fenestra vestibuli. That is very important. It is and to the neck region there is one muscle is inserting here, that's called by the name of stapedius. So this is about the steps. Next we are going to discuss about the joints present in the middle ear. The mainly two joints are present. One is incudiomalleolar joint, another one is incudiostapeedial joint. Already we have discussed this. Next we are going to discuss about the muscles of the middle ear. The muscles of the middle ear, only mainly two muscles are found. One is the tensor tympani, another one is the stapedius. Tensor tympani, in this picture you can see this is a tensor tympani. So this tensor tympani muscle is originating from the Eustachian tube, a cartilaginous part of the Eustachian tube. Eustachian tube is present in the anterior wall. It means tensor tympani muscle is originating from the anterior wall, especially from the cartilaginous part of the Eustachian tube. And after the origin, next it is inserting into the handle of the malleus, and it is supplied by the mandibular nerve. So what is the mandibular nerve? Mandibular nerve is the branch from the trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal nerve is the cranial nerve. It means mandibular nerve is supplying to this muscle. Action of this muscle, when this muscle, the muscle is helps for the stretching the tympanic membrane. Tympanic membrane stretches when this muscle is doing the work. The stretching of the tympanic membrane is one of the important action for the transmission of the sound waves from the external ear to the internal ear. So in case of mandibular nerve injury, then what is going to happen? This tensor tympani muscle is going to paralysis. When it is paralyzed, then tympanic membrane is not stretched. It is not stretched means sound waves are not transported properly, then hearing impairment. Then there will be a little bit patient is not hearing properly, that's called deafness or hearing impairment, not hearing properly. Second muscle is called stapedius. So one muscle is from the anterior wall of the ear and inserting into the malleus, and second stapedius muscle, it originating from the posterior wall. Already I told in the posterior wall there is a pyramidal eminence. From the pyramidal eminence it is originating and inserting into the neck of the stapes. And this is supplied by the facial nerve. Action. The main action of the stapedius muscle is it to draw the steps laterally. See, when the sound waves are fall on the tympanic membrane, then these bones are going to vibrate. When these ossicles are to vibrate, then foot plate is moving inside the internal ear. Once it is inside internal ear, who is going to drag back? So it is dragged back or held back by this muscle. Then once the wave is created, once it is foot is moved, and immediately it is dragged back and held properly. So it avoids the excessive vibration of a foot plate inside the internal ear. Imagine if this muscle is paralyzed. If the facial nerve is damaged, in that condition, if this muscle is paralyzed, when sound waves are fall on the ear ossicles are to move and it is entered inside. After that, it is not taking back. It is not dragging back. Then what is going to happen? This moves again and again inside the internal ear, and it creates the again and again waves inside the internal ear. Then what is going to happen? The person is feeling or hearing a noise sound, is not hearing clearly, and is a noise sound heard by the patient. So that condition is called by the name of hyperacusis. This is about the stapedius. Next we are going to discuss about the artery supply. There is two main arteries, posterior tympanic artery and anterior tympanic artery are present in the middle ear and supplying to the middle ear. Posterior tympanic artery is the branch from the stylomastoid artery. Stylomastoid artery is the branch from the posterior auricular artery, and posterior auricular artery is from the external carotid artery. And the anterior tympanic artery is the branch from the maxillary artery. Maxillary artery is also branch from the external carotid artery. It means the external carotid artery branches are supplying to the tympanic cavity or middle ear. And venous drainage, so two venous systems are draining here. One is a superior petrosal sinus, another one is pterygoid plexus. So superior petrosal sinus is present inside the intracranium. It is draining to the intracranium. After that, it is coming to the internal jugular vein. And a pterygoid venous plexus is present in the cheek region or below the zygomatic area. So through that, it is draining to the external or the internal jugular vein. And next, nerve supply. So middle ear is mainly one nerve is present, that's called tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve. So this is supplying this area, and apart from that, two more nerves, that is sympathetic nerve supply, that is superior and inferior carotico tympanic nerves. Carotico-tympanic nerves. They are arising from the what is carotid plexus. So the carotid plexus is related to the sympathetic nervous system. They are managing the middle ear. And next, summary. The summary is this one is the roof. The roof is connecting to the brain. Floor is connecting to the below the floor. What is there? Jugular vein is there. Anterior wall is connecting to the Eustachian tube, or through the Eustachian tube it is connecting to the pharynx. And posterior wall is connecting to the mastoid antrum through the auditus. And medial wall is nothing but the labyrinth, and lateral wall is nothing but the tympanic membrane. Next, we are going to discuss about the applied anatomy. Now, if you know this clear picture of this one, then applied anatomy is very easy. First one is fracture of the middle cranial fossa. If the middle cranial fossa is fractured, this is above this roof there will be a brain. That is the middle cranial fossa is fractured. Indirectly, roof is fractured. Then if there is any fractured this area, then what is going to happen? The bleeding is going to happen inside the middle ear. From the middle ear, it is coming through the lateral wall, making the perforation in the tympanic membrane, and bleeding from the ear is going to happen. It means the middle cranial fossa, any patient came to the hospital with the middle cranial fossa fracture, first check the ear properly. Two things are possible. One is a local bleeding from the ear, otherwise a bleeding from the middle cranial fossa. So that is confirmed by the signs and symptoms, otherwise CT scan or MRI. Next, chronic ear discharge. Usually chronic ear discharge is found especially in case of the children's or in the childhood, early childhood. These are the quite common, because in the children's the mastoid abscess or mastoid, in the mastoid region inflammatory changes and the middle ear inflammatory changes are quite common. So because of that reason, from the mastoid antrum the infection can come to the middle ear through the auditus, and from the middle ear it is coming outside through making the perforation through the tympanic membrane. And infections of the middle ears are known as otitis media. Otitis media is happened, then infection can spread in all the direction. One, from the from the middle ear it can spread to the throat through the Eustachian tube, or from the otitis media middle ear infection can spread to the mastoid antrum through the auditus. The infection can spread to the cranial cavity through the tegmental plate or superior plate or the wall. And if it is pus is more pus is collected, then plate, that is the floor, is also dissolved, and next the infection is going to spread to the jugular vein. That jugular vein is creating the diseases like thrombosis and embolism like conditions. Okay, next one is the otosclerosis. Otosclerosis means, especially this otosclerosis means hardening of the joints or the bone, middle ear bones. Especially put plate is attached to the oval window. When the sound waves are fall, then put plate is moving in and coming back to the original place. But due to the hardening of this area, then put plate is not moving accurately. In that condition, patient is not able to hear. That's called otosclerosis. So that otosclerosis is age related disease. How the age advances, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 onwards, 80, 70, 80 onwards, the grandfather or grandmother, they are not hearing. When you are loudly speaking near to their ear, then they can hear. So that is maybe the condition that's called otosclerosis. Then hyperacusis. Hyperacusis already we have discussed. What is the hyperacusis? Hyperacusis is the condition. Hyperacusis is the condition in which the stapedius muscle is paralyzed. Due to the paralysis of the stapedius muscle, then once a slight sound waves are fall on the ear, then foot plate of the ear is moving inside the internal ear, and again it is creating the wave system in the internal ear. That leads to the noisy sound or tinnitus in the patient. So that is called hyperacusis. So this is the one chart. It gives the idea. Middle ear infection can spread to the brain. It leads to the meningitis or brain abscess through the tegmental wall, because it is not ossified in the children's. But in the adult, there will be a vein. The transportation is very less in case of the adult, but in the children's it is quite common. And middle ear infection can be came out through the external acoustic meatus by making the perforation in the tympanic membrane. That's called ear discharge. Middle ear infection can be spread to floor. The floor may be dissolved. Due to the dissolve of the floor or dissolution of the floor, then there will be entry of the infection in the vein, that is the jugular vein. That may leads to the thrombosis of internal jugular vein. And sometimes the infection can spread to posteriorly, because middle ear is connecting to the posteriorly or mastoid antrum through the auditus. So there will be a chance of mastoid abscess. Abscess means collection of the pus. This is the one thing. And another thing, a patient is having the children's, or in the children it is plays an important role. Any child came to your clinic with the symptoms of throat infection, we should not take as light, because see the passage. Throat infection can spread to the middle ear through eustachian tube. Once the infection came here, it can spread here, anywhere. But among them, if the infection is spread to the superiorly, because unossified plate will be there, immediately patient is suffering from the meningitis. First day patient came to the hospital with a throat infection. If you doctor's negligence or if you are neglected, then patient is end up with the meningitis or brain abscess. That becomes the severe condition in the patient. So with this I am concluded, or I am completed the detailed structure of middle ear. Thank you and all. And for this I referred many textbook like Gray's Anatomy and Vishram Singh and B.D. Chaurasia, A.K. Datta. In this occasion, I am convey my sincere thanks to the author of that textbook. Thank you.